When you're staring at a sea of monitor options, it's easy to feel stuck between, I need more screen real estate, and I don't want to waste money on something that ends up just gathering dust. That hesitation is especially true for a display the size of a small TV. I'm going to walk through what it's like to actually put a 49-inch curved monitor on a desk, what kinds of work and play it really improves, and where the money is actually going. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the setup. The Dell UltraSharp 49-inch is a single, massive panel that replaces a dual monitor rig. The curve is subtle enough that you don't feel like you're looking at a movie screen, but wide enough that you can spread a spreadsheet across the whole width without turning your head. Because it's a USB-C monitor, you can drive it with one cable from a laptop that supports DisplayPort over USB-C, which means power, video, and data all travel together. In a home office where the laptop sits on a small stand, that single cable can be a real relief compared with the tangle of HDMI, DisplayPort, and power bricks you'd otherwise have. I tried it in 2 everyday scenarios: a full day of remote work that involved coding, video calls, and a bit of design, and a weekend gaming session with a friend on a coupe game. In the work scenario, the extra horizontal space let me keep my IDE, browser, and Slack open side by side. The real win was the built-in picture-by-picture mode, which allowed me to treat a second laptop as a separate input without having to manually switch cables. I could glance at a reference document on the far right while still typing code on the left, and the transition was seamless because the monitor treats the whole surface as one logical screen. That feels different from a dual monitor setup where the mouse sometimes jumps between 2 separate displays. Here the cursor just keeps moving. During the gaming session, the curvature helped keep the edges in view without you having to rotate your neck. The 5120x1440 resolution gave a crisp image for the games I tested, and the 60 Hz refresh rate was adequate for the titles I play. I didn't notice any input lag that would ruin fast-paced shooters, but I also didn't expect a high refresh panel from a monitor marketed toward professionals. So if you're a competitive gamer chasing 144 Hz, this isn't the right purchase. If you're a casual player who values screen real estate over raw speed, it works fine. Now, who should actually consider this monitor? The sweet spot is anyone who currently runs 2 or 3 monitors on a desk and is frustrated by the bezel gaps, the cable clutter, and the need to constantly swivel chairs to see the outer edges. Graphic designers, video editors, data analysts, and programmers all benefit from a continuous workspace that lets them line up timelines or compare data without the visual break of a frame. It's also a good fit for people who travel with a laptop that supports USB-C video and want a single cable docking solution at home. The monitor's built-in USB hub gives you a place to plug a keyboard, mouse, and maybe a USB-C flash drive without reaching for the back of the desk. On the other hand, you should skip it if your primary use case is gaming at high frame rates, if you have a tiny desk that can't accommodate a 49-inch footprint, or if you're on a tight budget. The price point is well above the average 27-inch monitor, and you're paying for the sheer size and the professional-grade color accuracy that Dell markets. If you only need a little extra vertical space for reading documents, a 34-inch ultra-wide or even a standard 27-inch 4K panel will deliver a better value per inch. Let's dig into practical strengths. The most obvious advantage is the sheer amount of workspace. When you open a spreadsheet with dozens of columns, the monitor can display the entire width without scrolling. That cuts down on context switching and can actually speed up data entry tasks. The USB-C power delivery is rated at 90W, which is enough to keep most modern laptops charged while you work, meaning you don't need a separate power brick on the desk. The monitor also supports Dell's factory-calibrated color profile, which is useful for anyone who does color-critical work, but doesn't want to spend extra on a dedicated calibrator. In my design tests, the colors looked consistent across the whole panel, and the built-in ambient light sensor adjusted the brightness in a way that kept the screen from being too glaring during a sunny afternoon. Weaknesses are more about compromise than outright flaws. Because the panel is so wide, the pixel density ends up lower than a typical 27-inch 1440p monitor. Text is still sharp, but if you're used to 4K on a smaller screen, you might notice a slight fuzziness at the very edges when you're sitting close. The stand is sturdy, but it doesn't tilt very far back, so you'll likely need to